Chatty cat. I know. Chatty catty over here.
My new,
Oh, that's a
got
good
my new
question.
nickname.
What?
Can we proceed without counsel?
Oh, no, we can't, can we?
Yeah, we can.
We can?
We don't have to have it.
Oh, that's right, he was gonna be out. We're fine, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to have it.
We're a little-
We're discussing it, whether we can proceed without him or not. and it's-
But I think we can.
All right. Like to call the Thursday, May 1st meeting of the Cass Grande Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Please join me, rise and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance. Okay, we're all here. Please let the record show all the commissioners are here. Director, any changes to the agenda? Welcome.
No, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I have no changes. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, commissioners, we have two sets, yes, minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
I would love it.
We approve the minutes for the April 3rd, 2025 meeting.
Okay. All right, motion is second to approve the minutes for the regular meeting on April 3rd. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make another motion
thank you, sir.
to approve the April 3rd, 2025 special meeting minutes.
Second.
Got a motion second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next up is our consent agenda. These items, and it's only the one, this one item will be enacted by one motion, one roll call vote to the commission. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a commission member or somebody from the public so requests. In that event, we'll pull that item and cover it in the normal fashion with the rest of our agenda. The only item on there is E1 for AZSEG for Promenade CG Holdings. Anybody from the public like to have that polled? Commissioners? Okay, seeing none. Commissioners?
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, could you call the roll?
Member Smith,
Aye.
Member Aldrete,
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes.
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza,
Aye.
Chairman Benedict.
Yes. Next on our agenda is our public comments portion. This place is for anybody from the public that would like to address the commission on pretty much anything except the issues that we are going to hear tonight. If there's anything in general that the public would like to address with the commission, please come forward. Seeing none, close the public comments portion and move on to our new business. Yes, these guys all know. Okay, I was going to say we can describe our normal process, but I think all of you are pretty experienced to these processes. I won't take the time to go into that description. We'll move right on to the first item. We'll have consider a request by Bill Koenig for 75-foot wireless telecommunications facility, conditional use permit, minor site plan, and Sam's on.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners.
Yes, I would like to bring before you a conditional use permit and minor site plan, DSAs 25-00015 and DSA 25-0016. No. Click on the mouse.
There it goes.
All right, so we have a conditional use permit for a wireless telecommunication facility greater than 35 feet in height, and a wireless telecommunication facility requires a minor site plan. In this instance, the site is located at 525 North Colorado Street. It is a B4 zoned property, and it's roughly 1 1/3 acres. This is just southwest of the corner of Colorado Street and East Florence Boulevard. This is going to be a 75-foot monopalm. It's for AT&T. It's going to have a 20 by 30-foot equipment compound, which will be concealed by an 8-foot CMU block wall. Previously, there was a setback variance that was approved by the Board of Adjustment that allowed them to have less than the required 75 feet of setback from the property boundaries. And that was approved back in October of 2023. So this is what the site looks like if you were headed westbound on Florence Boulevard, looking south. Here's kind of how that's going to change the skyline there as this tower goes in. And I don't have it shown here, but it's going to be similar in shape to the other two palm tree type cell towers you see there. So again, before, after, it's not going to be a significant change to the skyline that exists. Here is the site plan, and this is showing the southwest corner of the parcel that has the red hash marks. There is the compound, and the gray path is going to be the access that they will use approximately once a month to access the site. Other than that, once a month, once the site is constructed, there will be little to no other traffic coming or going. Here is a elevation view of that tower. Again, you can see the compound, the block wall, the structure, 75 feet, the cellular array, and then it is going to have that palm tree type camouflage. Our conditional use permit criteria are here on the board. At this time, if you needed to look further into it, the staff report covers all this in detail. But right now, all criteria has been evaluated and covered within the staff report, and staff finds that all criteria have been met. And then the criteria for site plans, our city code calls out that if you're building something new, you're either got a major site plan or a minor site plan. This cell tower or this cell facility does not meet the requirements for a major site plan, therefore it is minor. And generally, minor site plans do not come before the Planning and Zoning Commission, but because we are packaging that with the CUP, that is why it's here before you tonight. So the criteria for a minor site plan are generally that the proposed site will not be detrimental, it won't cause traffic congestion or seriously depreciate the surrounding property values, and that the proposed site is in harmony with the surrounding areas, the intent of the chapter, and the general plan. So as far as detriment, health, and safety, there was a condition of the variance that the tower be built in such a way that should it unforeseen collapse, that it will maintain on the site that it is on. Again, I talked about there's expected to be 1, maybe 2 trips a month to the site once it's constructed, so traffic is not a significant concern. And this is our business general plan, commerce and business, and as you saw, there are 2 adjacent properties that both have very similar cell facilities on them, so it kind of just fits in with everything else, as well as that lot is very narrow, very long, and it's situated between the Manana Grande Shopping Center, and some self-storage facilities. So this is going to be difficult to develop as it is, and this is nestled down in the southwest corner, so even when it does go to develop, this should be of little concern and easily built around. All of the requirements for public notification have been completed and met, and at this time, there have been no comments or inquiries about this proposal. So at this time, staff recommends that the Planning Commission move to approve the following request: the conditional use permit and associated resolution for a wireless telecommunication facility greater than 35 feet in height, DSA 25-00016, and then minor site plan, with the following condition, that the applicant shall provide verification with the building permit submittal that in the event of structural failure, the tower would fall completely within the property. And then again, the minor site plan for a wireless telecommunication facility, DSA 25-00015. And I will be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Commissioners, questions for staff?
Cut and dry.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, at this point, would the applicant or their representative like to come forward and address the commission? I guess not. Yep, there he is.
Hi, Bill Koning, SmartLink, representing AT&T. Just here to answer any questions you guys might have.
Commissioners?
No questions.
Pretty easy, okay.
Cut and dry.
All right. All right, then I will thank you very much, appreciate it. We'll open the public portion of the meeting. Anybody from the public like to address this issue, please come forward, state your name and address for the commission. Seeing none, I'll close the public portion of the meeting for this issue and bring it back to the commissioners.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
That'd be great.
I'd like to make a motion to approve DSA 25-00016, conditional use permit and associated resolution for a wireless telecommunication facility.
Second.
Very good. I got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Member Smith,
Aye.
Member Aldred,
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes.
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza,
Aye.
Chairman Benedict.
Yes. Okay, we have another piece of this.
Mr.
Commissioners?
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
That'd be great.
I'd like to make a motion to approve DSA 25-00015, minor site plan for a wireless telecommunication facility.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, commissioners? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Member Smith,
Aye.
Member Aldred,
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes.
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza,
Aye.
Chairman Benedict.
Yes. Okay,
Thank you, commissioners.
next we have consider a request from Brian Greathouse Birch, and I'm not going to pronounce that right, on behalf of Quick Trip Corporation for a major site plan for Quick Trip, DSA 25-0021. James, talk to us.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. So if you remember last month, the zone change request for Quick Trip was in front of you, but this evening, the major site plan request for Quick Trip is being discussed. A little bit of background. Back in October of last year, City Council had denied the zone change associated with this site from urban ranch to planned area development. The request at the time was to allow for a convenience store with no more than 3 diesel pumps for truck fueling. But it was denied because there were concerns that the truck element would change the character of the area and it would also add to the traffic along McCartney. And just as a quick refresh, the new PAD, which was submitted and received your recommendation for approval, removed the truck fueling element out of the zoning. The area to the south of the site that was going to be largely to accommodate for the truck fueling is still part of the zoning district, but the approved PAD zoning just entitles that area for future general business B2 uses, and there's specific prohibitions within the PAD that restricts any accommodations for truck fueling and truck services. On April 3rd, Planning Commission did unanimously move to forward to City Council a recommendation to approve this zone change to PAD, and then on April 21st, City Council unanimously approved the zone change. However, zone changes are accomplished by 2 council meetings, so the second meeting has yet to happen. That's scheduled for May 5th. So this evening, we're just presenting the major site plan. So it's the next stage of the development now that the zoning is secured. Quick Trip is now requesting consideration of the placement of the convenience store and the canopy on the site and all the various site elements that are reflected within a major site plan request. So just to quickly go over some elements to the plan, they are proposing 51 parking spaces and a 5,300 square foot convenience store that'll be 20 feet in height. And then there is a fuel canopy for automotive vehicles that sits to the west of the store, between the store and Tucker. That's about 7,000 square feet in size, and that sits at 22 feet in height. Here's some excerpts of the elevations for the building as well as for the canopies. There is a technical modification that was not provided in the staff report, but I did want to address it this evening, that they were to provide an updated site plan to reflect the absence of a door on the side elevation. The site plan actually shows a door on both the east and west elevation. They have actually since updated the plans, but I haven't had a chance to get it off of my email and into the system, so I wanted that technical modification to be read. When reviewing major site plans, these are the criteria that get evaluated. A lot of these are overlapped with the zoning, so I primarily just want to hone in on the primary issue, and it's the primary issue that had caused some concerns when this item was in front of Planning Commission and Council a year ago, and that is the impact of the plan on the existing and anticipated traffic and parking conditions. So the site is about a quarter mile from I-10 in terms of where Tucker Road is. Tucker's about a quarter mile, maybe a little shy of a quarter mile. And the reason why that's important to point out is because it's been said that Tucker is the closest road from I-10 that will allow for full access. And that's really important when you think about other possible developments that will occur between I-10 and Tucker. Tucker's going to be a pretty significant road because that's the first road where you can have full access movements. By that I mean right ins, right outs, straight through the intersection, left ins, left outs. And so also, based on how close it is to the interchange, there's a number of impacts that needed to be mitigated, and you're capturing a little bit of that, or a little bit of that is captured on this screen. But they will be adding a traffic signal at Tucker and McCartney because it will allow for full access, but they're also going to be putting in some right turn lanes, a right turn lane for Tucker, a right turn lane for the access drive that's on the east of the site, as well as 2 left turn lanes. There was a traffic impact analysis prepared by Lokahai LLC that found that this business will generate about 300 daily trips with an AM peak hour of 347 trips and a PM peak hour of 292 trips. This is a 15% decrease in the daily trips from the previously approved TIA that was submitted when this project was proposing truck fueling. Although that proposal did ultimately get denied, I should point out that the TIA that was associated with that development with the truck fueling had been accepted by the city and by ADOT. And as you can see on that middle bullet, it had shown a much higher number of daily trips and about the same in terms of the AM and PM hours, but the overall daily trips was higher. And both the previous TIA and this TIA proposes to make the same modifications to the roadway network to mitigate the impact on the level of service for the roadways studied. I already touched upon what those improvements would look like, but essentially it would be a traffic signal at McCartney and Tucker, but then also all the area shaded in blue on the map shows all the right-of-way dedication that will occur, not only for additional right-of-way for McCartney Road to accommodate an extra through lane and turn lanes, but also right-of-way dedication for the extension of Tucker south of McCartney. And then on the south end of the site, there will be an east-west collector road. And the area highlighted in yellow towards the right side of the site, that is a shared access easement with the property to the east. That was important as well because that property to the east is pretty access challenged because Tucker is the first road that can get full access. So we wanted to have some assurance that even though for full access sites to the east and to the south need to use Tucker, there was a little bit more convenient access along the east side of the Quick Trip site. So it's been designed to be 3/4 access. You can make all the movements except for left outs. In addition to those mitigation efforts, the city is planning to make improvements to McCartney Road as a whole from I-10 to Pinnell. This is an excerpt of the cross-section of just the area near QT, but as you can tell, what the plans entail are medians, in some cases raised medians, in other instances they'll be painted, but it will be 2 lanes in each direction. And there will also be some other safety improvements to that area. Staff is striking a recommended condition of record that was on the staff report. One of the conditions was that the approval of the project is subject to the approval of the TIA by ADOT, but staff is striking that condition because in both the former TIA, which was reviewed and approved for additional trip generation due to the truck traffic, and this TIA, which removed the truck traffic, the LOS, the level of service for the I-10 interchange, is at LOS F. It was F back when the truck fueling was proposed, and admittedly it's at F with this project. And while this project does increase traffic, and it does further impact that LOS, it doesn't affect that in a significant amount. It's relatively de minimis. And improvements to the McCartney interchange are needed, but the improvements are not being sought from this developer because it is relatively small. It's a convenience store with auto fueling on a 2.5-acre site. The idea is that there's an opportunity for larger projects that would have a greater impact to that level of service. That's more appropriate to seek contribution from them. And then also, we regard that interchange as regional infrastructure. Improvement funding will also probably need to come from sources beyond incremental development improvements to the system. This is just an excerpt from the ADOT acceptance letter when the project did propose diesel truck fueling. And on the page on the left, I just highlighted where they acknowledged that it had been accepted, basically a year ago. But then on the second page on the right, it did acknowledge that continued coordination between ADOT and the city will be necessary to ensure improvements at the interchange. And that's still on the table. We all agree that improvements are needed. The city just didn't want to put those improvement obligations on one relatively small development. Regarding the notification process, we went through a series of notifications. We did hold a neighborhood meeting back in March, and then there was notice not only for the major site plan, which we're discussing this evening, but also for the zoning, which has already occurred. I did receive an email a couple of days ago, and that has been passed out to you from a homeowner within McCartney Center, and she had expressed opposition to this project. She had also been opposed to the project when it was proposing diesel truck fueling. She just didn't find that this use was acceptable, given that she did identify that this would have a level of service F at that interchange, and she suggests a less intense use. And then there was correspondence received last month from another owner within McCartney Center not in favor of a gas station. Her contention is this area should develop residentially, and commercial development in this area is not appropriate. The neighborhood meeting that was held was lightly attended. However, the general sentiment at that meeting was that people were pleased to see that the diesel truck fueling element was being removed. However, they were wanting to see McCartney Road improvements as part of the city project happen sooner than later. And we also did receive a couple of emails in support of the request. With that, staff does recommend that Planning Commission move to approve this major site plan, subject to the following modified conditions of record and technical modifications. The conditions of record are that this major site plan is not deemed approved until the zone change for Quick Trip goes into effect. As I mentioned, the second council meeting's on the 5th. And then the other condition is that prior to the issuance of a building permit, the developer of the site is required to submit a map of dedication for the necessary rights of way for Tucker and McCartney, and as well as a planned general plan trail that runs parallel to McCartney. And then the two technical modifications are that the TIA be modified to reflect the civil plans that have been provided with the major site plan, and then also to update the plan to remove the door on the side elevation, which technically has been provided to me, but I just wanted to include that. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Commissioners, questions for staff?
I have a question
Yes.
for Clark. Regarding the scheduling of the improvements along McCartney, has that been determined yet? I know we've discussed it in the past, but as far as the section like Pinal to Treco, and Treco to Pert, and then Pert going east, as far as what's coming first?
Yeah, Public Works has asked in our latest CIP program for fiscal year '26 for design with construction in fiscal year '27-28.
So we're quite a ways out yet.
So we are a bit out, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Chairman, I have another question for
Yes,
Clark.
please.
Clark's, the development is going to be required to build the traffic signal at Tucker before opening?
Correct.
Okay, because I'm looking at the TIA, and in the conclusions, it doesn't speak about the traffic signal as a part of their improvement, so I just want to make sure. we're all on the same page. And I'll ask the applicant as well. just to
And,
make
and
sure.
if I can interject, that
Okay.
was a condition on the zoning,
Oh, it
that
was
it be
built.
constructed, correct?
Okay, awesome. Good for us. Or maybe city council.
So, 2027 is when we would start building on the improvements on where? Let's talk, I mean, surely not the whole.
So the McCartney Road improvements have been broken into two phases. The first phase is currently under design, is from Manal to Treckle. Phase 2 is from Treckle to I-10.
Okay.
So that's the segment we're talking about.
The second.
Yes, sir.
The one okay, so the one that impacts this. Okay, just takes me a minute to get through my head, thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, would the applicant or their representative please come forward to address the commission?
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, Commissioners. We're back. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're almost there. Very thoughtful questions. We've been working with staff for a long time on off-site improvements, including the significant improvements that QT will be doing just off their site on Tucker and McCartney. So it might take a little while to get the improvements down all the way to the east end of McCartney, but QT will be doing those improvements. They anticipate an opening of 27-ish, 27, 28, so it should line up fairly well with those off-site construction improvements on McCartney. We don't have a formal presentation tonight, but if you have any questions, we have a whole team of consultants and owners reps over here that can answer.
Okay, commissioners, questions for the owner?
You're you're comfortable building that traffic signal? I think that's your sales for the community. It's needed.
As Jim said, it's a condition of approval in the zoning case that should go back to what, council next week for final approval?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Anything else? Man, you guys got off easy. Okay.
Always the easy ones.
And okay. We like that, yeah, we do like that. Anybody from the public like to address this issue, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public portion for this issue and bring it back to the commission.
Chairman, I'll make a motion.
That'd be great.
I move to approve DSA 25-00021, major site plan with the following modifications of record and technical modifications, conditions and technical modifications.
Second. Very good. Motion is second. Peters, second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Member Smith?
Aye.
Member Aldred?
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden?
Yes.
Member Hubbard?
Yes.
Member Peters?
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza?
Aye.
Chairman Benedict?
Yes. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you working with us all through with all the community. It's very much appreciated. Okay. Next up, we'll consider forwarding a recommendation to City Council, a request from the Pratt Family Trust on the zone change from R1 to B2 for DSA 25-00034. And James is on.
I'm up again. This is a zone change request, and it's for the property that you see on the screen there. It's just on the north side of Cottonwood, a little bit east of Pinnell. The request is to change the R1 portion of the property to B2. A little bit of background and information about the request is the applicant, Janice Pratt, owns a 1.16 acre parcel. It's what's highlighted in the black there. 0.65 acres of this parcel happens to be zoned R1, while the remainder is zoned B2. The reason for that is originally it was multiple parcels, but they've been since consolidated, placing two zone districts into one parcel. And so really, this is just to make a revision or a cleanup to that by changing the R1 piece to B2. The entire property would be in one zone district. B2 is known as the general business zone, allowing for a wide variety of retail, offices, and personal services. Typical uses in the B2 zone include auto sales, banks, community meeting halls. You can have office, whether general or medical, hotels, sit-down restaurants. There are certain uses that are permitted with the approval of a conditional use permit, such as daycare or drive-through restaurants. Self-storage is another type of use that would require a conditional use permit. And then the development standards for B2 would be 35 feet from the front property line, and then the sides get an aggregate of 15 feet, so that means a building can be as close as 0 on one side, but then that means from the other side property line you'd have to be 15. And then there's a rear setback of 15 feet. However, this area is subject to a residential setback because that area in yellow is the R1 zone, which is a residential zone. So there would actually be a building setback of 45 feet from any residential area. And then in the B2 zone, they're subject to a maximum height of 35 feet. When reviewing zone changes, the criteria that is associated with zone changes are more or less come down to compliance with the general plan. And this area that is subject to the zone change actually sits within the neighborhood's general plan category. The rest of the property sits within the community corridor general plan category. Now, while the city doesn't like to have two zone districts sit in a parcel, it's not really any harm that there's two general plan designations. It is possible for the applicant to come forward at a later time to do a minor general plan amendment to clean that up too, but it's not critical that one half of the property sits within community corridor and the other half sits within neighborhoods. It is a little bit unique, but it does happen. In the neighborhoods category, there is a support for a variety of residential developments with thoughtfully placed non-residential uses, and non-residential development should be sensitive to the scale and matching the neighborhood's character. And then within community corridor, which sits closer to Cottonwood, further from the existing neighborhood development, is designed to provide a diverse mix of uses and activities with an emphasis on linking pedestrian activity to development and minimizing the appearance of auto-dominated areas. Because this area is within the neighborhood's general plan category, but more specifically because it does sit within, that's okay. That didn't scare me or anything. Because it does sit close to existing residential development, staff is actually recommending a condition of record that the maximum height in this 0.65 acre area be limited to 28 feet. That way it is more compatible with the residential development. In all honesty, staff doesn't have a lot of concern with the residential properties to the north because you can tell those are pretty long lots. I think there's like a 110-foot distance from the house to that property boundary. We have more concern with the residential property that lies to the east. That house to the east, I think there's a point where it's as close as like 5 feet from that border. So we thought that a condition minimizing the height was something that could help bolster compatibility. Another criteria that we look at is the action is consistent with the city's general plan, including goals, policies, and applicable elements. So a goal that I want to call attention to is N1, which is the spatial form and design of development in neighborhoods areas should be transit-friendly and appropriate to adjoining land uses. And so an action step to achieve that goal is to design neighborhoods so that housing, jobs, etc. are within walking and biking distance. So B2 zoning is completely appropriate here because it is surrounded by the neighborhoods that the development on this site can serve. Another goal that I want to talk about is goal N3, which is to minimize land use conflicts. One of the action steps to achieve that goal is to require physical separation such as fences or landscape areas between residential and non-residential developments to increase use-to-use compatibility. There does happen to be existing masonry walls where the property abuts the single-family properties. And because B2 zoning requires a minimum building setback of 45 feet from residential zoned areas, this goal can be easily met. Staff is recommending that condition restricting the height to 28 feet as a further measure to minimize land use conflicts. This is just a map that shows the property zoned a little bit further out to show you that where that area that's currently zoned R1 is kind of like a little bit of a peninsula into the neighborhoods area. A lot of the other more commercial development lies flush with that east-west divider between the pink and the yellow. The third review criteria that I want to discuss is the proposed zone change is necessary and proper at this time. We, staff, do feel that B2 is appropriate and necessary here to serve this area of the city. It has access off of Cottonwood. It makes a lot of sense to support B2. And the surrounding residential area can be reliant upon whatever ultimately gets developed here. And it does help clean up the fact that it currently sits in 2 zone districts. Regarding the notification process, we followed that which is required by code. I didn't receive any comments as a result of the public notification efforts. Staff does recommend that Planning Commission forward to City Council a recommendation to approve this zone change request from R1 to B2 with the condition of record that I had discussed. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, I apologize I didn't start this section with this, but because my brother is helping represent this person, I have no financial gain from this one either way. And so I will, if you're comfortable, I will recuse myself from voting in discussions. And if you're comfortable, I'll continue to lead the meeting. Just not shifting back and forth. And so if everyone's comfortable with that, anybody not, let's put it that way. I'm perfectly fine. If you're not, I'll just get out altogether. Then Celeste can do it.
We're good. We're good, just lead the meeting as normal and.
Okay, great, thank you, appreciate that. So, with that, commissioners, questions for staff?
So how would you have access to this back lot?
So the Commissioner Hubbard, the property is all part of the same parcel that reaches out to Cottonwood. So there would be just through the driveway that's off of Cottonwood, it would continue north.
Oh, like through here?
Yep, right here.
Would you
To reach the back. It is a true infill lot. It probably doesn't lend itself to a lot of uses because it is kind of tucked back there, but they would have to run a driveway just continuing it north.
And the houses to the north? Do they own the whole lot right there, or are those?
They own up to where I have it shaded red.
No, I mean, I apologize. The houses to the north of this, they own this whole half acre, so there's nothing.
Correct.
Because this is low to moderate income, area. And so I'm kind of wavering on this because you could do something else besides commercial. And we are needing affordable housing here.
I think just food for thought about that concept is that, to your point about how do people get to that area of the lot, it is fairly access restricted. As you can see to the east, there's not really any easy way to get to it. There's an alley that dead ends, but we don't really recommend and support
Right.
alley access for primary access. I guess in theory, if you were to run the scenario, if that area were to develop residentially, probably the best thing would be to run a driveway through one of those residential lots to the north, get some sort of agreement to run like a private access drive.
Yeah, no,
But
I was just
it would
wondering.
entail working with, that property owner.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, would the applicant or their representative please come forward and address the commission? Please give us your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Janice Pratt. I live at 425 East Providence Drive. And our family's owned this business for many years. In fact, those 2 lots were sold to us from the city. It was an economic development group that took the proceeds from that and helped do something to defray expenses with the lot holders to the north and in that area. That's my understanding. My husband isn't around, so I can't ask him. And I was kind of shocked and surprised to see that it was in 2 different zones. And I thought that this needs to be tidied up, and that's why we're here tonight.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions for the applicant? Okay,
Thank you.
Anyone from the public like to address this issue at this time? Please come forward, give us your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I'll close the public portion for this item and bring it back to commission.
I'd like to,
Yes, sir.
Chairman, if I could
Yes.
add anything. So just to kind of be consistent with what I've done in the past and I think what we've done as a commission, when we've had a 28-foot height restriction placed on it, I personally would like to see that removed, mainly for the fact that if you look at the zoning, there is a B4 zone property right next to it that extends further into the neighborhood than this property. That B4 has a 30-foot height restriction on it as well, or 35-foot height restriction on it as well. And I believe there's a condition that would suggest that it needs to be comparable to or compatible with its surrounding, but not a height restriction. And then just north of that B4 property is an R3 zone property, which is going to be the O'Neill Apartments. And that also has a 30-foot or 35-foot height max on it. And so with the R3 property being further into the neighborhood, the B4 being further into the neighborhood than this one, and then this property having access onto Cottonwood Lane rather than from a residential street, and then the 45-foot setback of our code, which is, I mean, it's a residential setback. It was written in there to mitigate those issues from the height that's permitted within the B2 zone. And so that 45-foot setback's going to work its job and what it was written for. And then if you think about just how you might design a site, if you have a 45-foot setback that's required from both your north and your east boundary, the most logical thing to put there is going to be your parking, because you can't use it for anything else other than your parking or landscaping, which I don't know why you would do 45 feet of landscaping on your north and east boundary. So if you do parking, we have a 10 by 20-foot parking stall requirement. So you're going to have a 20-foot depth right there already, and then 24 feet or so for the access lane to that parking. So you're going to get to 44 feet before you even step off the asphalt in design. And so then if you go and add a 5-foot sidewalk around your building on the other side of that parking, and then any additional landscaping somebody might do on the north and east, you're probably closer to over 50 feet of setback before you even get to a building on this property. And so I know there's some standards in the neighborhood's land use designation. And as James mentioned, they can come back in the future and change that neighborhoods to community corridors, and it would allow for greater development of this site. And so with that, I think it would be appropriate to remove the 28-foot condition, 28-foot height condition that staff is recommending, just for those reasons I suggested.
I disagree.
And then also to add to that, we also just approved a 3-story self-storage building a few meetings ago that was right behind a bunch of single-story. And so if that was considered appropriate, I don't know why 28 feet would be imposed on this rather than the full 35 that would be allowed under the B2 zoning. And so consistency-wise, that's why I'm also suggesting this. And so that's just my thought. I think height along our corridors is a good thing. Many cities are trying to figure out how they can revitalize their corridors because they have not seen the investment in their corridors. Part of the reason they haven't seen investment is height. They can't get the heights on their corridors through the current zoning of those cities. And so they're limited, and you just continue with this investment and no real ability to create something. I believe self-storage was considered. That would probably be a great use for a very limited access parcel that is strangely shaped like this one. So that's where I come from. If we're looking for revitalization of our corridors, our properties to turn into something else, be used for something, then we need to provide the standards and the flexibility to property owners to achieve that. And right now, I think 28 feet, it's not necessary based off of the current standards of our code and just the consistency of what we have approved in the past. And so that's my point.
All right? Any more?
I don't agree. That's fine. Well, I mean, 20 feet is what, 2 stories? And everything around there is that's height. I think we should just keep it at 20 feet like they suggest. I don't see the point.
Well, the O'Neill apartments are further in the neighborhood, and those will be 3 stories.
Yes, but they're further down.
They're north of this property.
Quite a way.
Okay. All right?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else?
Can I ask?
Yeah.
I'm going to mess up your meeting here. I want to ask the applicant, where do people park today when they come off of Cottonwood?
Okay. That'd be fine.
And whether there's an agreement with the adjacent property owner for their parking?
There's an agreement with the adjacent owner as an easement that was established eons ago. And you might recall this property was Pratt Pools, and then also the building that we had the pool in. The pool's been filled because I saw it as a liability leaving that hole right there. And I see this as being something that can be used for a different purpose. But if you were to try to make those back 2 lots completely residential, you'd have to cannibalize so much of the front part, it would be difficult to do. And my concern as the individual who purchased this from the city is that when we bought it, these ideas were not in our head. And why would the city approach us to buy these lots when we were in a business entity if it were not to be to expand the business? Because we weren't looking to do residential. This particular property is kind of landlocked. It's really not that much use for it other than the consideration of putting together as the banjo that it is right now, you know, with the stem going down and the part going out broadly.
So you have an agreement with that adjacent lot that fronts Cottonwood to use their parking in some fashion?
Right. We've been doing that for years.
Which that will run with the land if you sold it
Yes.
to somebody else?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And there's an alley too. The nice thing about this property is because you can access from Cottonwood, but you can also get out of it through an alleyway. So that kind of makes it a little bit safer property in that regard.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Chair, I'd like to make
It's
a
your
motion.
turn, guys. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to forward a recommendation of approval for the zone change request DSA 25-00034 from R1 to B2. Just that,
With no conditions.
with no condition.
Okay? We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Peters is seconded. Discussion on the motion.
I'm a no. Just so you know.
Okay?
I want to leave it as is.
Okay?
And I think if there's yet another motion to be made, I'm kind of punting the question to you, does that have to be made now while this other one's,
Boy, we
Open.
need Brett.
I know.
No, you need,
Mr.
well, I would be waiting for an amendment, a motion to amend
Okay.
their motion.
Yeah, I would suggest handling the removal of the conditions separately than as presented. So if you can make a motion to remove the condition, see how the rest of the commission feels about that or not, and then move forward with a motion to forward to the city council with the condition if that fails or not, depending. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Pick one.
So I'd like to make a motion to remove condition 1, the maximum height allowed for any structure within this 0.65 acre area is 28 feet.
Okay, so you've changed your motion just to remove this condition of
Correct.
this request.
That's what the original motion was then.
Well, but it's not approving, this. It's
Okay.
just removing
Just
it
to
from the
remove the
condition, and
condition.
then we're gonna
Okay.
have to do a
Got it.
motion to, if that passes, we're gonna have to do a motion to approve whatever's left, whether it's removed or not.
Okay.
I think that's what we're
Yes,
doing.
so that's,
And the second, I think
Yeah, I
was you?
second it,
Okay, so you'll approve that. Any discussion on the motion to remove the condition from this request? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Member Smith,
Aye.
Member Aldred,
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden,
No.
Member Hubbard,
No.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza,
No.
Chairman Benedict.
I've recused myself from voting, so we have a tie.
Ooh, love those.
okay.
Chicken.
So with a tie vote, the motion dies, so the
motion
condition
dies,
remains.
yes. Yes, sir, that's what I would say. The motion dies. Okay? So we have left, this is still as presented with the condition, is the request from staff.
Chairman, I'll make a motion
Okay?
that we forward to City Council an approval of DSA 25-00034 from R1 to B2 with the following condition of record.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, I have a motion, second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Member Smith,
No.
Member Aldred,
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes.
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza,
Aye.
Chairman Benedict.
Accused. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Good luck with the project.
Yeah, five goes to the runner.
Okay. Dan, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's hear from the director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Really happy to be here. And for years to come, more than likely. So the Florence Boulevard DCR will be heard by City Council for acceptance on May 19th. When Director Tice left, there was a few development code changes that he was working on, and because of a recent state law change, he put those on hold. But I will move forward with those, and I'm anticipating probably sometime this summer, maybe July, August timeframe for some of those development code changes. The other thing I wanted to ask the commission is these packets can get pretty intense, pretty thick, and a lot of paper, and I'd like to gauge the commission's interest in moving to just a tablet form, a digital form for these agendas. I can get you tablets. We can even get you a little tablet stand. You're also welcome to use your laptops if you'd like. I know there's also a summary that comes with these that I think is really helpful for the commission. Those are fairly thin. We could still provide those in paper format if you'd like to make notes. So I'm open to your thoughts.
Okay. Does that make sense, everybody? What he's suggesting is to provide a hard copy of the summary that the staff puts together.
Okay.
And then provide
Tablet.
tablets for us to be able to review all of the rest, the full packet.
Right.
So, comments, thoughts?
Well, this is kind of ridiculous.
I think it was a plan by the new director.
Perfect timing.
It just seems, the coincidence,
These big paper clips.
But like Erica said, there's over 400 pages, times 7 of us,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
It is a lot.
That's a lot. It could be pared down.
I think that's the biggest I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's-
But like we said before, it's a lot of it is that TIA information that,
And-
I don't think, well, one person read it.
I didn't read the whole thing, that's for sure. I was looking for that summary page.
I'm good with the
good idea.
director's thoughts
Yeah.
there,
Yep.
so.
Yep.
All right,
Absolutely.
thank you. I'll move forward with purchasing 7 tablets.
We good with that?
Yeah,
Hesitations?
so we are using those tablets during the meeting.
Correct.
right?
To really look through your packet,
Okay,
and it'll be nice. You can zoom in on some of the site plans if there's details. It's
okay.
they are challenging to read, I think, in this format as
So-
well.
So Deb, put together your creative ideas about the discussion that I had with you about training me to be able to use software to make notes. If there isn't some, I'll shut up and move away, but.
Yeah, you can always use
If you find some, let us know as the
Okay.
process moves along.
We'll do. Maybe even a voice recognition, so you don't have to write it. You can just say it.
There you go.
Whatever the newest thing is gonna be, because by the time I learn it, it'll be something new.
But we'll be termed out.
And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, anything else, Dan? City council approved all of ours that we forwarded to them. I don't know, Dan's here, and we're trying to work into a new world and make improvements. Let me ask the question, commissioners, I think I was the one that promoted the report, the land use summary, planning projects, and the permit report, building permit report. I like, certainly, and particularly the building permit report I like to see, but is that something that you all find is
It could be on the laptop.
as useful, or, the tablet is the answer, is that what you're saying?
So much easier.
Tablet's gonna be the answer to all the questions from now forward.
Oh, my God.
Okay, I'd still like to see them in whatever form that we can, send them. That'll be great. All right?
Okay.
Anything else? Commissioners, anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none, we are adjourned, and we'll open the next meeting in 5 minutes or. Look at that.
We did it an hour and it was this thick.